Welcome back to DAGryffyn Hobby. My name's Dave. Today I went out to Kutztown to the Flash train meet at the Renninger's market. I decided I wanted to get a lot of pictures. I started right at the first table, went in order, table to table, through the first pavilion and then the second. And I ended up with a good amount of photos of a lot of neat equipment, some stuff I hadn't seen before, some stuff I see all the time. Plenty of good deals. I would say this show was 50-50 split between O-gauge and HO. There were numerous items that caught my eye. Newer, high dollar stuff, older, even back to pre-war. There's some pre-war American Flyer that's been catching my eye. So, I went to just go, and I had said to myself, you're just doing $25 or $30 today. Well, spoiler alert, I didn't. My requirement for today was to come home with something different. There were certainly a selection of Weaver hoppers and boxcars, but I kind of felt like I had enough. Felt like I had enough for now. I made sure to visit every table before I made any sort of decision about what was coming home with me today. And the item I picked up is from my buddy James at JR Trains. This isn't the first time he sold me a nice piece at a train show for a good price. You may remember this one. I wanted to come home with only spending a little bit, but James got me for $100, but it's a fantastic deal as far as I'm concerned. Before we get into what I came home with, let's take a look at the pictures I got at the show today. one of the ways that I've gotten some really good deals on things at shows is that I'm usually not looking for anything in particular, but looking for things that are a good deal. What attracted me to this engine first was the size of it, the tender, and then the price. Had it said something like $300, I would have just walked away and not thought about it again. But it had a relatively low price on it, and I figured it required another look. So I picked it up and looked at it, really liked the tender, and I thought, okay, well, maybe if I don't see anything else that I really need, I'll come back and see if I can get it for a good deal. This piece is both different and the same, depending how you look at it. It's a Williams, so it's a reproduction, but it's different from the Lionel versions, mainly due to the colors that are on it. But when you're looking at budget and inexpensive pieces, sometimes it's just a little difference between models that really make it for you. So what is it? What did I get? What did I bring home? It is a Williams Pennsylvania Railroad scale Hudson. Maybe it's almost exactly like my 783, but it's also $150 less than I paid for my 783. The thing that really sealed the deal for me is this amazing tender. Look at that. 6-wheel trucks, nice Pennsylvania on the side. I really don't know anything about these Williams reissues. I don't know when it's from. I'm thinking, I don't know what, late 80s, early 90s? That would be my guess. It's significantly heavy, so I think it will be fine pulling whatever I'm going to pull with it. It does have traction tires, but I don't see why. At least for me, I don't need them. I'm not going up any inclines, and the weight of the engine itself should be plenty to pull whatever I'm going to pull on this layout. So then there's the question, do you take the old, probably misshapen and dried traction tires off, or do you leave them on? I guess it will depend how the thing runs. I mean, I hope it runs. Won't we find out? I have not hit it with power yet. I was told it worked, but yet this is always a stressful moment. Let's see what happens. So whistle, but no bell. I really have no idea what radius this engine was designed for. It doesn't seem to like the 54 that much. So hopefully it will go around my layout. Be a real bummer if it didn't. Well, let's see what happens. Well, it makes it around the layout. It certainly slows down on the turns though. But maybe it just needs to run some. It works, and that's always a plus. It's got a nice firebox glow, that's pretty cool. Smoke works intermittently. It seems to work better when it's at idle. And then once it starts moving, it seems to just shut off or just drift a little here and there out of the stack. I don't know if that's characteristic of the smoke units that they used in these engines. Maybe I just need to replace it with something else. I wouldn't say it has a wobble. It has a shimmy to it, which may or may not be the old rubber traction tires. But it runs pretty much silently, and I think that's impressive. I don't really want to, but considering what I believe to be its age, I really should open it up and get a look inside. So I guess that's what I'm doing now. Might as well take a look at the tender first. Looks to be 6 small Phillips head screws. It's got 2 boards and a speaker in there. I'm not going to take them out. Don't feel like messing with them. I'm assuming one's the reversing board and the other is the soundboard. The only noise I could get out of it was the whistle. So does it do more than that? I don't know. If I could find information on this model online, it'd be great. This was glued in place and I accidentally kind of popped it loose. If I had a hot glue gun out here, I would just hot glue it back down. Should I crazy glue it in? I don't know that I want to. I'll put a drop. What the heck? Separate coal load, die cast tender shell. I mean, one of the real reasons I wanted it was this tender. I just really like it, and hopefully I can run it with different engines, not just this one. So there's really nothing to service in here. For now, it's fine how it is. Missing one of the green jewels. A nice clear lens on the headlight. Little number board there. See, nothing else to deal with up top. If you tilt this over, the smoke fluid dumps out. So, I guess what, these don't have a wick or something? I guess you have to unclip there. Interesting. There's a little spring perch here. Can't lose that. Okay, that's still connected. I'm going to leave that as is. Take the front trucks off. So then I assume it's just these 4 screws and it should come apart. Maybe not these are tiny. Those just hold on the ash pan or ash plate, whatever they call that. And then obviously somebody's been messing around. 2 different screws in here. If you're taking something like this apart and you have 2 different screws like that in a spot where there should be 2 of the same, pay attention to where you take each one out of, because if the threads are a little different on one and you put it back into the wrong one, you don't want to end up, stripping the hole out or something. That odd screw will go back into there where I got it out from. Hold on a second. Not quite ready. A couple more screws. Got to remove that plate, or at least loosen it. Just need it to be loose enough so that you can snake the wires out. That is a hefty shell. Nice and thick. They really took advantage of the space to mold in as much as they could. This smoke unit is sitting in a light bulb base. I'm going to size that flywheel on this thing. So we've got the motor, the flywheel, drive shaft, and the gearbox. I don't know that I feel like taking that apart. Certainly not in the mood to do a complete disassembly of this. Ooh, okay. Should this be tight? I didn't need to take those screws out. That's better. Is this all the smoke unit? The heat sink and the board? Looks like you could just almost fill that up with smoke fluid. Wonder how that's actually supposed to work. Everything looks pretty solid in here. No real need to mess around. A flickering LED instead of this bulb would be cool. My new favorite way to clean the pickup rollers, take a paper towel in there and get yourself some electronic cleaner and just spritz it. I almost felt like it was stuck. They spin great as is, so I'm not going to mess with them. So I would assume that the 3 screws here in the middle and the bottom are for oiling. As far as I can tell, the wheels are pretty straight. I took out each of these 3 screws and I put some of the Labelle 102 in there. They call this one a gear lubricant. I like using this instead of thicker stuff. I could be wrong, but I feel like something like this that's more fluid is going to move around more and really get into all the little spaces, whereas a grease might sit on top of things. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but that's the way I feel about it, and that's what I'm going to keep doing for now. I wiped this part down a little bit. I cleaned up the wheels. Everything good here. There's really nothing I need to do on the shell. I'm just going to get a toothbrush into some of the crevices and get some of that dust off. Well, the shell's clean enough for me, so I'm going to put this back together. I have to say, I do really admire people when they really take the time and completely disassemble everything and clean every piece and make it all just totally spotless. I think that's amazing. I wish I had the patience for it. In the motor, gently lay it back down. Pinched the light, so I'm going to want to fix that. This long one, and that goes through the front pivot on that truck and into the boiler to hold it in place. I'll put that one in first. Put it all the way down, and I backed off a turn or two just to loosen it up until I get the rear screws in. I do that just in case the other holes are just a hair off. I don't want to end up stripping any of the holes. Okay, that one's tight because that's not holding the parts together. That's just holding the back of the front pilot. I want to make them snug enough that they don't back out. You definitely don't want to over tighten them. If you're afraid you didn't tighten them enough, you can always come back later and check after it's run around a little bit. I'd rather have a loose screw than a broken part. I should tighten this before I forget. That's just the plastic cover or what that holds the wires in place. Spring went on with the big part facing down. This little plate on it. Oh, I could accidentally shoot that across the room. That just leaves this last one that goes through both the rear truck and the drawbar. And that's it. The boiler front back on, and we'll get it back on the track. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time on DAGryffyn Hobby.